Hello fellow Simmers and welcome to a new video. I'm creating a Sims 4 save file based on one of my other favorite games of all time, Stardew Valley. And I do plan to share this save in the future, and I thought it would be fun to go through the process and the lore as I work on it. I have so many ideas from a storytelling perspective, and I basically want this save to be a continuation of where things are in the game when you play it, because the game only really gives you like a snippet in time of the characters' lives, and I want this save to be pretty much a continuation of that. As far as the characters go, some examples could be like, does Maru go to medical school, or does she pursue robotics? Does Shane overcome his addiction? Does Abigail become independent from her parents and adventure the world? I do want to add in new characters, my own characters, and then also implement like all of the prominent places in the game. So not only are we going to do Pelican Town, but we'll add Zuzu City and Ginger Island and the desert, places like that, and then maybe like create some places of our own. So if you have any ideas for a Stardew Valley save file, please let me know. I'd love to take everybody else's ideas into consideration because, of course, I'm just one person. I have one perspective. I played the game the way that I played it. And so you guys might have completely different ideas for characters. To anyone that's been watching my Sims 3 Sunset Valley rotational Let's Play, that is going to continue on this channel as normal, and this will just be a second series. In today's episode, I'm going to be showing you 4 Sims I've made for the save file so far. We have Maru, Robin, Linus, and Demetrius. Let's start with Maru. She is the youngest child of Robin and Demetrius and the sibling of Sebastian. She is also one of the youngest adults in Stardew Valley, and I see her as having just graduated high school. Maru has a good relationship with her parents, and there is some tension between her and her brother Sebastian. Maru is biologically both Robin and Demetrius's, but Sebastian is only biologically Robin's child. Demetrius is Sebastian's stepdad. Maru's parents, especially her dad, put her on a pedestal, and I look at her as the typical golden child archetype. Sebastian has built up resentment due to feeling like the less favorable child, and maybe also due to some trauma surrounding his biological father's absence. In my head, I feel that Maru would want a relationship with Sebastian, but he is dismissive of her, understandably due to the family dynamic. Per the Stardew Valley wiki, growing up with a carpenter and scientist for parents, Maru acquired a passion for creating at a young age. When she isn't in her room fiddling with tools and machinery, she sometimes does odd jobs at the local clinic. The local clinic is referring to the clinic owned by Harvey in the game. And then a big part of Maru's story arc in the game is that she actually builds this little robot that is sentient, and I think this is a great opportunity to incorporate the Sims 4 robotics station in the save file. As far as traits go, I made Maru loyal. This is due to her good relationship with her parents and wish to be closer to Sebastian. And I made her clumsy due to a hard event cutscene in Stardew Valley where she drops vials of medical samples at Harvey's clinic. I also made her an overachiever because of the whole golden child aspect, and her aspiration is Renaissance Sim. I see her pursuing different careers throughout her life, trying a lot of different skills, and living her life to learn as much as she can. In the save file, I want to enroll her in college for a sim degree, as I feel like she would pursue like the doctor career or science careers. Maru and any other character who does not have a spouse or confirmed sexuality in Stardew Valley will be set to romantically explore in Cass, and that way you as the player can decide, or maybe you have some mods or some other like gameplay things set up so that the game will like autonomously assign it. So that is pretty much Maru in a nutshell. Our next sim is Maru and Sebastian's mother and Demetrius's wife, Robin. Robin is the town carpenter, and she plays a crucial role in the Stardew Valley game. She is who you, as the player, go to in-game for all farm building construction, which includes home upgrades, chicken coops, barns, silos, a horse stable, and more. In the save file, I'd like to use either the Get to Work expansion pack or the Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack to set up her carpentry business. Using the Get to Work retail system would allow us to sell furniture in our store. So like you can sell like couches and tables and like big pieces of furniture. The downside to using the retail system would be that we have to have a second lot to be the retail business. Now, if we use the businesses and hobbies home business feature, then Robin would be able to run her carpentry shop out of her home as she does canonically in Stardew Valley. However, we would only be able to sell crafted items and items that slot onto a shelf. We couldn't just sell furniture. So I'll definitely have to think about what would be best in terms of gameplay. As previously mentioned, Robin had Sebastian with another man before she was married to Demetrius. Per the Stardew Valley wiki, it is assumed Demetrius is Robin's second husband because there are two books in the bookcase of their room titled Maximizing Your Second Marriage and Practical Tips for First Time Stepdads. Per the Stardew Valley fandom page, it is also presumed that Robin's first husband unfortunately died. If this is true, I do feel a lot of sympathy for both Robin and Sebastian. I gave Robin the hot-headed trait as Demetrius mentions that she is hot-headed in game. Since she is a carpenter, I also gave her the maker trait, and her third trait is outgoing. In Stardew, she comes off as very charismatic as early as the intro when she first teases the player character for the state of their inherited farm. This scene is also a first love moment for a lot of players, as it is well known that many in the Stardew gaming community wish that Robin was a romanceable option in the game instead of being married. So, guys, I'm giving you your opportunity here. I'm not saying you should break up Demetrius and Robin so you can have your sim get with her, but I'm definitely not saying not to either. Our third sim is Linus. Linus lives on his own in a tent northeast of Robin and Demetrius's home. He is a man who has rejected modern life and consumerism to be in nature. He lives off the land and is pretty successfully able to sustain himself through foraging the different plants that grow in Stardew Valley. Although he is spotted rummaging through people's trash every once in a while. He doesn't believe good food should be thrown out or wasted. I had a difficult time deciding on how to dress Linus in The Sims because in Stardew he wears a homemade tunic that appears to be made of like leaves or feathers, but there's really nothing comparable in The Sims clothing catalog. For now, I decided to dress him in some of the worn looking clothing that comes with the Sims Werewolf game pack, and this makes sense to me as I feel like if he did own any modern clothing, he would wear it until it was literally falling apart, as he doesn't care about appearance and doesn't want to waste anything. Linus is one of my favorite characters, and that's partly because he's so easy to befriend in Stardew. He likes most, if not all, of the easily available forageables as gifts, and Linus is content with his way of life, but unfortunately, this doesn't prevent him from being judged by the other town members for being different. He has a lot of dialogue about being wary of people and being treated poorly by others. I gave Linus the wise trait because I see him as very spiritual and almost above the rest of the town in terms of finding inner peace and life fulfillment. Because of this, I also gave him the aspiration of inner peace. His second trait is loves the outdoors. No explanation needed there. And then his third trait is freegan. In The Sims, the freegan trait is explained as a sim who rejects consumerism and prefers to reduce wasteful spending by any means, which is pretty much word for word describing Linus. And then before we move on to our fourth sim, Demetrius, I realized that I forgot to mention that Robin's aspiration is loves the outdoors. I see Robin as someone who takes her family camping and enjoys being outside when possible, and I didn't want her entire personality to be about carpentry, so wanted to mix it up a little with the aspiration. And we are now on to our final sim, Demetrius. As a reminder, Demetrius is Robin's husband, Maru's father, and Sebastian's stepfather. Demetrius is a scientist and he studies Stardew Valley's local plants and animals in his home laboratory. So, when you're playing Stardew Valley as the player character, he will come to your farm and offer to set up the cave that's on your farmland for either mushroom growth or to make it inhabitable for fruit bats. And depending on what you choose, you'll be able to harvest mushrooms from the cave or fruit from the cave. And both of these things are required for the community center bundles. And so this is like a really useful part of the game. So I tend to have a positive view of Demetrius right off the bat because of this. And then as far as the Sims go, taking all of this into consideration, I'm thinking that we give him either the environmental manager branch of the conservationist career or the botanist track of the gardener career. Demetrius has actually gotten a lot of disdain from the Stardew gaming community for being overprotective of his daughter Maru. I don't see any of his dialogue as malicious, and I personally think the way that Demetrius acts towards Maru in game is typical of a lot of fathers. I do, however, think that he puts way too much pressure on Maru to be successful and live up to his high standards. Of course, he can be proud of his daughter, but I feel like he pushes her a lot, and I hope that all of the things that she's done in her life, such as like working at Harvey's clinic, building the robot, like all of those things have been because she wanted to and not because she felt pressured to do things that her father would approve of. So this is why I gave him the successful lineage aspiration. When it comes to Sebastian, sadly, he does not seem to be a supportive father figure as he rarely acknowledges him in game. He definitely tends to favor Maru. I gave Demetrius the genius and skeptical traits. I feel like he is all left brain, logical and analytical, which would be very beneficial to his scientific research, but not very useful in social situations. In dialogue, he tends to miss social cues and nuances due to his very literal thinking, which is why I also gave him the socially awkward trait. Very relatable. You'll notice I gave Demetrius, Robin, and Maru the last name of Barnes. In Stardew Valley, the characters actually don't have any last names, so I'm having to make these up, and I ended up going to Reddit for the idea of the last name Barnes, and then I gave Linus the last name of Woods simply because he lives in the woods. So definitely let me know if you have any better name suggestions. We are coming to the end of our video. Thank you so much if you've made it this far. Please let me know if you think my Sims captured the essence of their Stardew counterparts or if I just completely missed the mark. If you have any ideas, share in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.